Hello and welcome to Talking Bengals, episode 8. Lots of fun things to get into tonight. Make sure you check us out on iTunes, Google Play, and Podopedia. Got a very special guest joining us for the second time. Jon, how you doing? Jon, you haven't technical. There we go.
Oh, doing good, Casey. It's good to be back with you guys.
Yeah, I know last time you said we kept it a little bit dark, so this week we're going to keep it a little bit lighter. Make sure we get into some fun topics for you. So we'll start off with the combine. What are your thoughts?
Combine, I don't know. I've always enjoyed it for some reason. I guess as the older I get, though, I kind of don't spend as much time dealing with it. But I think it's a pretty neat thing. Everybody seems to enjoy it.
So, Nick, what are your thoughts on Reuben Foster being dismissed from the combine?
Well, I didn't really get a good chance this week to look at it. I'm kind of excited to see what the combine's going to produce, especially the guys that haven't been dismissed. There's a lot of good seniors coming out of the SEC. Also, you got some good ACC guys in Pac-10. So I think the draft this year is going to be a good one, and hopefully it could turn out good for the Bengals. But I mean, obviously, you gotta pick the right ones, and everything's a gamble.
Yeah, I'm going to be curious to see if Reuben Foster's draft value goes down now that he was dismissed from, I guess it was the physical they were doing at the hospital. And there's rumors that he almost had a physical altercation with the hospital employee. He denies that. But I mean, I wonder how much that's going to hurt his draft stock when there was already rumors of injuries. Jon, what do you think?
I mean, he went and pulled the ultimate Brick McKendry. Don't you know who I am? At waiting for his physical. I mean, this guy is mentally unstable. There's no way the Bengals should even be in the Reuben Foster market anymore. I was actually wanting them to take somebody like Foster just because he's so good, but he's going to be washed out of the league in a few years. So I don't know. I'm all out on Reuben Foster.
Well, at this point, he's starting to seem kind of like another Odell Thurman, a really talented guy. I mean, he's a bigger name in college than Odell Thurman was, but, his attitude's going to get him in trouble. His antics are going to get him in trouble. I mean, if you're telling me you're a college senior and you're already going, do you know who I am? That's not boding well for your future. It just makes me feel really nervous about any possibility of the Bengals drafting him. I mean, they already got one problem kid as a linebacker. I really don't think they need another one. But the guy that I found interesting this week, and everybody keeps saying his stock is going up and up and up, is the best name coming out of college, Taco Charlton. Nick, what do you think?
I'm looking at his NFL draft overview. Um, I mean, he's got it's saying rare combination of size, length, and athletic traits as a rusher. Um, and despite of his traits, he needs more work in the weight room and consistency. Um, I mean, he can do a better job using his length to keep blockers off of him. So, I mean, size doesn't always mean everything. A lot of the times, what you're looking at is technique. Hopefully, he can bring something to the table for the Bengals to be able to help produce and help bring something solid to our team. And maybe he can work his way to the top if we do, wind up drafting him and he ends up boding well. Hopefully, he does well, and even if we don't draft him, hopefully he does well in the NFL. Jon?
I mean, first and foremost, I got to find a way to name my firstborn child Taco or Quesadilla or something. I mean, just what a fantastic name his mother gave him. Uh, but I mean, this guy, he's a prototypical defensive end for the Bengals to draft. I mean, I don't know how excited I am over him, be taking him at number 9 per se. The Bengals do need defensive ends, but I mean, really, we need so many things. I guess we really can't go wrong. But I'd be fine if they took this Taco. I mean, just for the name. I mean, I already know what jersey I'm getting, so I mean, that's it. What do you think, Case?
I mean, I just think the promotional possibilities are endless at this point. You know, every time he gets a sack, a row gets a free thing of tacos. I mean, maybe you got to get a Taco Bell promotion, or if there's a local Cincinnati taco chain that I haven't heard about, you know, this could be a great promotion for all of them. But I mean, his size, he's a very stereotypical Bengals defensive end, like you said, John. I mean, he's kind of like Carlos Dunlap, Miles Johnson, just big, tall, pretty quick off the ball. I mean, he can bring a lot of good things to the Bengals. I'm with you. I don't think number 9 is probably the best place to get him. I mean, you could almost swipe him in the second round if you trade it up a little bit, because he's a possibility looking at right now. Realistically, going the last projection I saw was about 25, 26, somewhere in that range. So, I mean, you could get him maybe later, and I don't know if he's really worth a number 9 pick, and you should probably go after somebody who's got the best value at the time when they're on the board. But, it could be worse. At least, like you said, the name is interesting. So that'd be fun to talk about for years to come if he could have a nice long career. But did anybody else catch your guys' eye at the combine? Nick?
Like I said earlier, I didn't really get a whole lot of chance to look at the combine. To be quite honest with you, like I said, not too much that I got to see. Not really any big names that I've been able to check out. But going back on the Taco, Charlton, yeah, I mean, you're definitely looking at a name that you can use for marketing. It's something that you can possibly bring fans back into the game. I think it'd be funny. Like you said, with smart pick at 9, I don't know. I don't know if he'd be a smart pick at 9. Going back to last week, I don't think we should draft a defensive lineman in the first round anyway. But I don't know. It's the Bengals. We'll find out. But John, I'm sure you have more on the combine than I do.
Yeah, there was a few guys that really interest me. I mean, first and foremost, Leonard Fournette was just awesome. A guy as big as him running a 4.5 40. I mean, he's just got everything. I don't think there's any way he's still available at 9, but sometimes dreams do come true. John Ross, the wide receiver out of Washington, breaking Chris Johnson's 40 record with a 4.21 or something. Man, could we use a burner? I'm all in also on either Corey Davis, the wide receiver out of Western Michigan. He just looks like a freak of nature. And my number 1 pick, I'm truly hope the Bengals are going for, is Mike Williams, wide receiver out of Clemson. Obviously, he just has all the playmaking skills. I mean, he would just be a perfect complement to AJ. And I think it's time to really look at this offense and see how bad we really were last year. And I think that's where we need to upgrade first. Anybody that caught your eye, Case?
I mean, he hit the big positions there already, so it's hard for me to say there's anybody that just absolutely blew me away other than Leonard Fournette and, Williams. But I just think it seemed like a very deep class all the way around. That's what I was most impressed with. I mean, last year, it was pretty slim pickings, especially as far as offensive specialty players go. So I just think there's some encouragement. There's some encouraging things you've seen this year that this could be a very good draft class, and the Bengals having so many picks that could really pay dividends for them. So moving away from the combine, everybody's favorite Bengals celebration dance, the person who made it up turned 51 last Tuesday, so we got to give a little love to Ickey Woods. So what I'd like you guys to do is think of your favorite time either you've done the Ickey Shuffle or you've seen the Ickey Shuffle. Nick?
It had to be backyard football, playing in our childhood against our buddies, especially when we did our pick and play. And I remember throwing the ball up to you in the corner of your backyard where we made the end zone. And I remember you throwing the Ickey Shuffle into Kurt's face. I thought it was pretty funny. By far one of my best memories was, being a kid and, playing backyard football and just the time being outside and just playing backyard football. Football was something that all of us, friends and people who even didn't like football, that didn't play, they still played backyard football with us. And I thought, as a kid, I thought it was a great thing. So it taught everybody how to work together, and just thought that was a great time, especially when you did the Icky Shuffle at Kurt. John.
Mine was definitely also a backyard football game after I scored a touchdown. I Icky shuffled one of the neighbor kids, Jason Van Hoos, and he took exception to it, and we instigated a fight. So, Icky's fun, but sometimes the shuffle can backfire. What was yours, Casey?
Oh man, you guys have hit on the childhood memories pretty hard. I think I actually remember that particular game because anytime I got a chance to show up anybody when I was a kid, I had to take advantage of it. But I think I'll go a slightly different route here. Just pay tribute to what the Icky Shuffle really means to the Cincinnati area and to Bengals fans. I mean, for a team that was forgotten for a lot of years, the Icky Shuffle just kept at least the Bengals relevant in some way, especially through the dark ages of the 90s. I mean, it's made lots of different pop culture reference appearances. I mean, a few years you had the cold cut commercial, which is one of the funniest ones I've seen in a long time. I mean, the Icky Shuffle got mentioned on How I Met Your Mother. There was an entire 10-minute part of an episode where they dove right into the Icky Shuffle, and that was the best touchdown celebration of all time. And I just think it's something that'll be timeless, and it'll just stick around and keep coming back time and time again, just as, what is that, just retro cool, I guess, at this point. So the Icky Shuffle, like I said, I'm pretty sure I did it. I couldn't remember if it was my first kid or my second kid, but I figured out we were having a baby. I know I did the Icky Shuffle with one of them. So that was always fun. So yeah, the Icky Shuffle is always good times, and happy belated birthday to Icky Woods. So going through another fun, light topic that you only talk about in the off season because you have plenty of free time to bring up really anything you want to talk about. The thought I had this week was the players who are entertaining, but you hardly get to mention them a whole lot, and you don't really get to see them play anything but this position. Favorite primarily special teams players other than kickers. John, what do you got?
Well, I think mine really comes down to it was cemented one day at probably the best sporting event ever attended was the Kansas City Chiefs game in 2003 when they came into Paul Brown Stadium undefeated. And when P-Dub brought back the punt, the stadium, I've never been at a sporting event when things were shaking, the ground was shaking, the scoreboards were shaking. It was just an incredible day. That moment forever will stick in my mind. P-Dub always will be my favorite special teamer. How about you there, Nick?
I'm going to go at the lesser mentioned individuals, and I'm going to go for a long snapper, Brad St. Louis. He played a vital role in Nugent's successful part of his career, and also at Huber's successful part of his beginning of his career. I mean, you're looking at somebody who can accurately snap a ball time after time and not have a botched snap, go over someone's head or under his feet. I mean, I don't remember really any snaps from him ever really going awry. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, obviously, Casey, but I mean, I think that, you have to go with a long snapper because a long snapper is where it all starts on special teams. I mean, unless you're obviously talking about kickoffs, but yeah, I mean, long snappers are where it's at. Got to have a good one so that we can start everything out right. Casey, who's yours?
I mean, I'm going to be shocked. You guys may not even remember this guy, but someone that I really enjoyed watching, in the mid 2000s, and his career as a safety never really panned out, but he'd always hype everybody up on kickoff. He'd just bend over, do that muscle man pose and jump up and down, and that was Reggie Miles. I mean, the poor guy never really made it as a defensive player, which is what he really was, but on special teams, he would just hype up the fans, get everybody excited, and occasionally he'd make a tackle, but you really weren't worried about his tackling ability. You're just there to see him get everybody hyped up and jump up and down and just make the game exciting. And that's, special teams, that's part of the job. You got to keep people fresh. You got to get hyped. You got to be excited. And, just a great player. And when I was really sad and the Bengals let him go, I mean, obviously you can't keep a guy forever just for special teams abilities, especially when he's not your leading tackler on special teams. But he made the game fun. He kept it light. And, I mean, I do remember the Peter Warrick punt return. I was there, and that was awesome. And Brad St. Louis is a very consistent guy. But especially with special teams, I like to be entertained. So I would definitely say Reggie Miles is my favorite as far as special teamers who are primary special teamers. So moving on into the favorite topic, I know everybody in the world's been waiting on this, roast it or boast it for the week. And the topic that we're going to dive into first is with the current roster as of this date and time, who is signed for next season. We can even include the free agents because they're still technically with the Bengals right now. Do the Bengals make the playoffs? Roast it or boast it? Nick.
I say boast it. I think the team as is good enough to make the playoffs. I think they've made key mistakes in games that can be fixed. So I think that I'm going to boast it because of that simple reason. I think that, they don't make certain mistakes in certain games. The game sways their way and they come out on top. So I'm going to definitely have to say boast it. I think that the team that they got right now is already good enough to make the playoffs. Winning, that's something else to look at. But making the playoffs, I definitely think they have a chance as long as they don't make those critical mistakes at key points in the games. And John, what do you think?
Brother, you are crazy. This is a total roast. This team last year was just awful to watch. I mean, other teams are going to be getting better. I mean, we're not really that far away per se. I think we need a high impact player on offense, maybe some line help, and I think we'll be all right. We definitely need to upgrade on speed on our defense. So I think, really 2 to 3 high impact players, and we're right back in the playoff hunt. But as is constructed, no chance. Casey?
John, I'm going to agree with you. You got to roast it. I mean, there is no possibility that what we saw last year from this team, that you could even put any faith in the fact that they could make the playoffs with the current roster they have now. I mean, they played a lot of close games, but they lost them. You can't lose the close games. That was the difference between 2015 and 2016. 2015, they were able to find a way to win. Even, in a tough game, they were able to find a way to win more times than not. Even the playoff game, honestly, you could say they found a way to win. Then they just found another way to lose it. But in 16, they just were giving games away. Like, okay, we're only down by 1 point. I think it was the Giants that are down by 1 point for almost the entire second half, and they just couldn't get one drive going. I mean, that's just frustrating. I mean, you miss a game-winning field goal against Houston. You just got to capitalize. You got to make it happen. You have to make the most of each opportunity you get. And this team, with the roster they have right now, there's just absolutely no way that they could make the playoffs, which I'm going to actually add a little bit more to this topic. And John, since you've not been in any of our draft pick talk lately, I'd like to hear what you think the Bengals, who or what they should draft in the first round that could help them out.
Well, as you could maybe foreshadowed with my combine players I was highly interested in, they need another wide receiver and or a running back first and foremost, in my opinion. They just the weapons that they have on offense just aren't playing. You cannot. Yeah, I mean, it's been proven over the last several years. You can't rely on Tyler Eifert for a full season at this point. He's going to miss games. Brandon LaFell was nice. He's a nice player. He's a good possession receiver, but he's not a playmaker. AJ Green is the playmaker. When you're drafting in the top 10, you have a lot of possibilities to get playmakers on offense, and I just think that's the way they need to go right away. I mean, this is an offensive league, and you need to score a lot of points. It's just the way it is anymore. They're going to call pass interference on everything. The more speed you got, the better off you are. So, I mean, I really like Mike Williams a ton. Corey Davis probably as a backup to that. I'm a little nervous that Bengals draft strategy usually entails drafting the defensive ends and or cornerbacks in the first round, and I don't think necessarily that's the way to go this year.
Yeah, I'd agree with you on that, actually. I mean, the more I think about it, we're talking about taking Taco Charlton at number 9, and I honestly feel he's much more of a second-round player. So the Bengals could use some help in the skill positions, and hopefully they'll actually listen to that this year instead of drafting another cornerback that gets hurt and misses his entire rookie season. Because if we get another one of those that's just not helping us at all, we'll just end up with more people on the injured reserve instead of having an impact an impact player coming out at number 9. So moving into our next topic, Kajana Carter was a worse draft pick than Achilles Smith. Roasted or boasted? John, you're up first.
This is the one of the quintessential Cincinnati debates in all of sports. And honestly, I don't really even think it should be a debate because Achilles Smith was the worst draft pick in the history of football, bar none, hands down. The guy maybe was a fourth or fifth rounder at best, and the Bengals draft him number 1 overall. Worst draft pick in the history of the game. Whereas Kajana Carter was a Heisman winner coming out of Penn State, phenomenal football player, total freak injury in the preseason up in Detroit. He has that kind of injury nowadays. He only misses 9 months. He might be able to play in the playoffs. It's just bad luck versus just horrible scouting and horrible decision making with Achilles Smith. He really wasn't even an NFL player, in my opinion. So I don't know. It's just I don't know. I don't think it's really a comparison. Nick?
I agree completely with John. I think Achilles Smith was the worst draft pick that the Bengals could have ever made, bar none. I mean, Kajana Carter, like John was saying, I mean, you're looking at someone who has performed, has shown that they can perform at a high level, obviously being, the Heisman winner. But I mean, Achilles Smith, I don't remember anything that he did that was good for the Bengals at all. I think whenever he played, it was just the Bengals losing. And I don't think he contributed really anything to the team. I definitely agree that John, where he's, pointed out that, he's just a bad pick. And I don't think he should have been picked at all. He may have not even been an NFL player, even in today's standards when you have more draft picks. So, Casey, what do you think?
I definitely agree. Achilles Smith was a worse draft pick than Kajana Carter, but my favorite debate with this would have to go back to how my grandpa used to mess up both of their names. It was Kajuna and Alkali. It cracked me up every week. You'd talk to Papa and he'd be like, that Alkali cannot play quarterback. I don't know why the Bengals keep giving him a chance. Alkali just cannot do it. Kajuna's hurt again. What are the Bengals going to do with Kajuna? So that was my favorite part of both of their careers that were very short-lived. And to defend Achilles Smith just a little bit, he did set one block, I remember, on a reverse for Peter Warrick. That's about the only highlight I can think of his entire career was setting a block on a reverse for Peter Warrick. So not a whole lot to talk about Achilles Smith. By far, probably the worst draft pick of all time, I would agree. Maybe Ryan Leaf would be worse, I'm not sure, but Achilles Smith's right up there. So, Nick, the pressure is on you for our last topic of the night as far as roasted or boasted. What do you got?
I'm going to go with a little bit lighter-hearted topic. So, roasted or boasted? The beer prices at the games are used to try to deter people from drinking and driving, to make the stadium look like they're a little bit more responsible than what they really are. So the beer prices are high because they don't want people drinking and driving. Roasted or boasted, John?
That's totally roasted because they know it's all about supply and demand. There's a very high demand, there's a very limited supply. They're going to charge you the hell out of you. They know they got you when they walk in. They can charge you whatever they want, and they're going to buy it. I mean, look at the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl, I think what were they charging, like $15 for a beer or something? People pay it. They'll buy three at a time if you let them. It's just the way it is. It's a total roast. Casey?
Yeah, I agree. You got to roast that one. I mean, I'm afraid to see, with inflation, how much beer is going to cost by the time I go to another game. And I think last one I went to was like $7.25 a beer. I don't even know what it's up to now, but it's too dang high. I can tell you that. I mean, you get a 6-pack at the store, and you can drink that in the parking lot, and you can save yourself a whole lot of money because it's going to cost you about the same as it costs you for one beer when you go in the ball game. So you definitely got to roast that, and it's unfortunate how much expensive it's gotten, but I don't really think they care about the drinking and driving aspect. Nick?
Yeah, I just kind of threw that together. Definitely roast it. I mean, there's no way they think about responsibility on their part for selling beer to people. I mean, they're there to make money, and making money is their goal. And obviously, the Brown family doesn't really think about anything else other than making money. So, yeah, definitely roast it. Casey, what are your you want to start off closing thoughts, or you want to pass it to John for closing thoughts?
For once, I won't be the last one on closing thoughts. I think I'll just jump right out there. My closing thoughts tonight is really got to do with, I'm glad the combine is over because it's just one step closer to the season. We are slowly making it through this off season, so if everybody could just bear with us, we're almost back to football. One step closer. Just got to take it one day at a time. And good Lord willing, the Bengals will make some smart moves before they actually put on the pads going into the summer. And that way we have something really positive to talk about once the season kicks off. So just staying optimistic. We're almost to the football season in my mind. I know we still got a few months to go, but we're almost there. John, what do you got?
I'm just really hoping this year that the Bengals actually do something in free agency other than doing nothing and or signing their own people. Uh, I just want to see them make a little bit of a splash for once before we head into the draft. The draft is always one of my favorite events on the calendar. I'm still very upset that Roger Goodell has decided to break it up over 3 days. That drives me nuts, but it is what it is. Hopefully, we can maybe one day put this all back on one weekend like it should be. But I'm not as ready to get to football season yet. I want to get through the baseball season first, and football will be here before we know it. So the calendar just keeps moving faster and faster. What do you got, Nick?
I'm going to move along with the baseball topic. Yes, I'm excited for football season to come up late July, early August. Of course, love Bengals, love football. But baseball opening day coming up in April, it's going to be a big parade going on, big festivities in Cincinnati. It's always a fun time going to the opening day parade and opening day festivities down there at on the river. And I mean, Cincinnati is turned into a better place, I think, for opening day festivities. With the history behind it. I don't know. There's just something about baseball to be said. You got the crack of the wood bat. You got the smell of the cut grass, the fresh cut grass, and the feel of the dirt beneath your cleats, and just the feel of the leather of the ball, and the laces. So I mean, there's something to be said about baseball. And especially if you're like me, Casey and John. You played baseball for so long. You kind of miss it when you're done. And but football is something that everybody can get into. Kind of gets into a little more primal state. So it's definitely a little bit more fun to watch football. So the spectator sport of football, I can't wait for it to come back late July, early August. Casey, finish it off for us.
Yep, that'll wrap it up for us tonight. Please check out Talking Bengals on iTunes, Google Play, and Podopedia, and we will see you next week. Hoo day!